you agree that, it's time that we all wake up and take responsibility, even for our ancestors that did not know any better?
Been waiting patiently to have this kind of conversation. Well, it's Wake Up with KC, and today I have an interesting topic to talk about: numbers. What if there's a connection between numbers and us? And what do numbers actually mean? And how can they help us, guide us, and protect us? I have a special guest, Brother King Simon, who studies numbers, and he joins us today. Welcome, Brother King Simon. You know what? I've been waiting to say this all day.
Yes, ma'am.
Simon says.
Yeah, I used to use that years ago.
I've been waiting to say that to you all day today.
That's funny, Casey. Yes, yes. I've been using that. I love that. I used to love that when I was young. I even wrote a reggae song with that song, Simon Says, years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And, I'm connected with you through an interview that you had with Billy Carson.
Yes.
And
Great.
you just blew my mind about your study of numbers in all aspects
Right.
of, in other places, in other countries that also studied numbers.
Yes, that's right.
So how did your journey begin? When did you discover this thing about numbers?
Well, my journey began from my grandmother, really, because she used to acknowledge birthdays a lot. She used to acknowledge birthdays, and she always had a card for every season. Those big boxes of cards, and may she rest in peace. She was born on the 22nd of June. And so she was already amassed the number without even her knowing the science of numbers, but she understood the importance of acknowledging people's birthdays. And so my grandmother, who initials is Law, Laws, Lillian Alberta Walter Scotland, which numbers have a law behind it. So does astrology has laws behind it. And reflective of that law, she always used to acknowledge birthdays and always used to send myself or my sister or one of my cousins to the mailbox to drop these cards in the mailbox so it will get to their house at a certain time. Whether she was sending it to Canada, England, Jamaica, she always knew the time. She knew how long it would take, and she would make sure she send out cards so it can be right there for the birthday or for the holiday season. So it was through my grandmother that was the beginning start of it. And of course my mother throwing birthday parties and my father throwing birthday parties, mother and father doing parties for me. But yeah, that was how I began that journey of understanding birthdays and its importance, to tell you the truth.
So after studying, the birthday numbers and, what does birthday numbers mean? Like, how does it fall into play in a part of who we are?
Well, a lot of people, especially in the Western Hemisphere, are really study the Pythagorean system. But if you study the history of Pythagorean through various studies, you'll find that he got it from somewhere himself by going back into places like Chaldea, or going to Egypt, or going to places like India. But he did leave Greece for a good 22 years, according to history, according to legend, and then came back and became the father of numbers. And that particular part of the study of numbers was hidden because he actually, according to studies, that they actually was actually persecuting him and his followers for even doing this type of science, because of course if it's dealing with any religious or whatever control that emperor of that time wanted to have, of course they didn't want you to know and have knowledge of yourself. So especially through birthdays or days of birth or years or the name sequence. So I had to go there into the history, at least from Pythagoras' point of view, and show people that this type of information was a secret science at one time because of the persecution that happened to the Pythagoreans that was following Pythagoras, according to Dr. Talal, according to P. Manley in his book, and various others. I've studied all different types of people, which all happen to either be of Indian descent, or I've studied people that have been of European descent, and they've always expressed that certain thing that happened to Pythagoras in his journey. And really, the system of the whole Pythagorean system came about through his followers. It kept on developing under a mystical auspices and something secretive, like a secret order, because, you know, this type of mathematics, which is not psychic, and I like to tell people a lot of times that this is not psychic, is that because Galileo, Isaac Newton, Pythagoras, all of the great ones, and even before them, because Pythagoras and their followers understood that this knowledge came thousands of years before them, and they would come thousands of years after them, because numbers has been sorted out as to be something that's able to guide people as far as universally, because the universe is mathematics, and since we're on Earth in the universe, it just makes sense that the mathematics is also connected to us also. So in its development and growing stages until what we have, the Pythagorean system, or you had the Chaldean that was before that, and then you had Samaria that did it, you had Egypt, you have Chinese, that the Hindus that did it. The importance of birthday, like I said, I had to set that premise for a reason so people will understand that this is an ancient science that comes from ancient people of antiquity, and the interpretation was discovered or built over the years through observing patterns, cycles, sequences in people's lives and in the situations that was going on in society at that time. So knowing your birthday or connecting your birthday or your name to the numbers can help to reveal a lot about that person, especially as far as talents, gifts, skills, what their energy or frequencies are connected to, as far as people and individuals and family members, all of that, your challenges, your strongholds, your weaker holes. Numbers have that depth of stuff that it offers. But I tell everybody again, this is not psychic. It's just that it's an applied mathematics that is so profound and so precise that it can give you that GPS guidance. It can give you that guidance that will help you to be in the right place at the right time. Like one of my teachers would say, Lloyd Strayhorn, be in the right place at the right time. So it's a beautiful thing if people decide to study for themselves. And it is one of the most easiest metaphysics systems to study also.
Wow. And I know you have several books, which if
Yes.
anybody would like to, look more into the study of numbers, can you
Yes.
share with the audience about that book?
Oh, sure. I have 4 books actually. My first book that I wrote that was like my coming out was No Promotion is Bad Promotion. All publicity is good publicity. Just spell my name right. Very good book because it talks about promoting yourself from a low level to a high level and whatever you want to do. I even talk about how to get sponsorships and all that, the things that I used to do on radio and for shows and clubs, and I used to be an MC. And also I break down the numbers of why I was attracted to that in certain parts of this book. Just to start on my numerology journey, this was one of those books that started me on to the writing aspects of things. And then the first numerology book that I came out with, KC, and I want to tell your audience, right now, we are ranked amongst the 100 best numerology books in the world. Right now, this book is the 30th.
Wow.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm number 30 on the list. My teacher, one of my teachers, Lloyd Strayhorn, because he's been in it for like years, he's been in it since the 80s. His book is number 8. His first book is number 8, and his second book is 32, right after mine. But mine is number 30 on amongst. And this is due to requests. This is due to the scientists or the people that did this count. The algorithmic count actually was looking at the algorithms of how the book is requested, how many they sold, and all that. And mine's ranked number 30 amongst 100. So yeah, this particular book right here. Numbers are simple. People are complicated.
I would agree with that. That's a great title.
And then the second numerology book, or the third book in really, but the second numerology, this one is called Numbers Are Simple, Our Children's Health is Important, relating to how numbers can reveal possible health ailments that can be attracted to you if you're not willing to look at certain things, or at least take precaution. You know, my grandmother used to say prevention is better than cure. You know, we all know the saying is really 1 ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. So that's what this book is all about. And then my last, and well, not my last, but my fourth book, because I'm going to write 6 more, so it'll be 10 altogether, is this one called Numerovation for Mental Stability, a numerovational guide to recognizing mental instability and staying motivated, Casey. So, and I wrote that in the time of what we call the pandemic, or the reset. I like to say reset. I really don't want to call it anything else than that, because like Les Brown, one of my teachers said, one of my judges says, he said, you know, sometimes a setback is a setup for a comeback. And we can definitely know from 2019 into 2020, it's been a setback, but it is a setup for a comeback. And I see it all in the mathematics also, if we take care of our health and maintain balance, you know? So yes, but thank you. Those are the 4 books.
And I like what you said, you know, it's a setback to set yourself up for a
For a
comeback.
Comeback. That's
And,
Les Brown. Les Brown said that, yes. Mm-hmm.
And, you know, with my perspective, being intuitive, it was like, it was the universe coming in and creating chaos in order for you to pause and step back.
Yes. Yes.
And reevaluate. And like, because we've been so programmed to be busy, on the go, and not, you know, and being something that we're not.
Yes.
It gave us an opportunity to, well, wait a minute. I didn't really like my job anyway. Well, what can I do now? You know, I was not fulfilled. I was not happy. What can I do now? It's the reinvention. That's what the reinvention phase, reinventing yourself.
And I want to share with your audience, Casey, and thank you again for allowing me to be on your show. You know, Casey in the morning, or it's Casey in the morning, right? Or it's Wake Up with Casey.
Wake Up with Casey.
Wake
Up.
Wake up. What's so interesting about that whole situation is that, you know, when you study the numbers of those particular years because although people call it COVID-19, it really got its strength in 2020. That's where the strength of it came in. And which was ironic, as my teacher was explaining to me, the number 4 is one of the malefic, or one of the challenge numbers for China. And apparently it started in Wuhan, China. So it turned up in Wuhan in 2020. It was discovered in 2013 in the last September, October, November, December months, which in numerology, that's the sneak peek months of what's to come in the year that's coming. So really, they was already feeling the effects of 2020, which adds up to 40, which is a 4. And 4 is one of their dangerous or their challenge numbers. I can't make this stuff up in numerology.
Wow.
That's just showing you patterns again. And cycles. And my teacher, he went to China, and he says bikes used to be stolen a lot, because a lot of them ride bikes because there's so many people. So riding bike is easier to get around through riding bicycles because there's so many people on the road. But he said he had a friend of a friend that had a bicycle that used to get their bicycle stolen a lot. So this time they decided to put the number 4 on the bike with some crossbones, and nobody troubled the bike, because China knows that 4 is a dangerous number, or what we say is a challenge or a malefic number to them. So all the Chinese know that 4 is not one of their favorable numbers. I'm just saying. So they knew how to stop the robbery.
Hey, you use the numbers to your advantage.
And that's what I'm talking about. That's what we as numerologists, or I as a numerovator, do. Show people how to use the numbers as an advantage to them instead of it being a disadvantage. Because again, once you know and understand your pattern, cycles, and sequence through the applied mathematics of numerology, which only means the study of numbers, that's all it means. So every aspect and study and every form of applied mathematics at any level is numerology. That's all it is. You just need to know how to use it on a spiritual perspective from a numerology's perspective, or you're using it on a physical perspective, which is mathematics, geometry, algebra, and all the rest of them. So everything has a spiritual and physical component. You just have to learn how to apply it and use it for the best for yourself. You know what I'm saying? That's what we're here to do, to help people do that.
You know, I thank you so much for doing what you do, you and Mr. Lloyd. And you said about the spiritual aspect and the
Yes.
physical aspect.
Yes.
My understanding, let's go back to, Sumerian
Yes.
times,
Yes.
Egyptian times.
Yes.
They used mathematics.
Yes, they did.
And
Yes.
I question, well, how did they come up with that? There had to have been someone guiding them, giving them that knowledge that was very highly evolved.
Well, you got to think about this. Even Billy and I spoke about it, that the people that we are considered highly involved or unidentified are our ancestors that has gone to another level. But you remember, if you go by history and chronology and archaeological studies, you'll find that it was also done by observation, especially the Dogons, because the Dogons was mapping out the universe even before telescopes.
Yes.
People are thinking about that. The Dogons had it laid out. You know what I'm saying? And the Sumerians, all of these guys, and the Chaldeans, all of them was the magi's of history. The male and the females were the magi's or the oracles of history that were able to tap into their dream world or tap into that spiritual recording and bring it down. Even in the study of numbers and cycles and patterns, one of my teachers, Brother Kaba Hayawata Kamene, always says, what would be the reason for a man to really deal with numbers or counting? You really wouldn't have no reason for that. But a woman needs it because they used to count their cycles of 28 days or whatever amount of days for their menstrual cycle and all that. So a woman would have to realize that this was coming down or what was going on through their system. And that's why he would connect it more with the women. But I'm more of the stance that both of them had to learn patterns and cycles and sequence, because we kept on seeing the sun and the moon coming up and down, or we kept on seeing the appearance of the sun and the moon at night and the stars and all that. So we had to start observing, because remember, a true scientist is really looking to observe and looking for the repeatable, is looking for what's measurable, and then it becomes teachable. So that's why we are observing things. Even when you had to feed your children or feed even in the rural areas where probably they didn't have to do any real counting to a certain degree, but they didn't understand the numbers. Even when they're attacked by animals or bulls or wild boars out there, your mind already computes if you're being attacked by 1 or 3 or 5 of them. Naturally, your mind compute. Now you got to know how to set up or deal with the circumstance. And so your mind is already computing this. For those that live in rural areas that might have not done the counting system, but as I keep on studying over and over again, they also had a counting system. They also had a system of recognizing patterns in their own way. It may not be as advanced as now, or as it developed over the years through Egypt and then going to Greece and Rome and all these places, but they had their systems also. And so they had their own intelligence. That's why I tell people about consciousness. Every animal came with their program and their consciousness. So to claim some type of conscious community, all of us are conscious as long as we came into this realm through a feminine womb and through we are conscious. This is a consciousness, because I see cockroaches try to get away from the kill all the time. So conscious of what's going on. They feel it, they censor it, they censor what's going on. They throw their antennas up there. And I observed them too. I used to observe them in this old house that I had, and this old place that I used to live in. And I used to observe them. And you can stop, they'll stop, and they're feeling their antennas to feel your energy. So they're conscious. ants, cockroaches, bees, all of them are conscious. They are for their particular programming. And we got to respect. That's what the Matrix was talking about in that movie, the first one. Programming.
Oh, that is fascinating. I didn't realize, and I don't like cockroaches. I'm sorry, you're dying. I had one fly in my hair one time
Yeah.
and Dr. Dot, I was like, you're gone. If I see you, you're gone.
In Jamaica, where my parents are from,
I transmute your soul to another place.
in Jamaica, where my parents from, they're big and they fly. So, I remember that when I was young, just watching them do their thing.
Oh my gosh. Just the thought of it just cringes me.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. But it's now that I see, I'm going to observe first before I send it to another place.
Yeah, you should observe them. They'll stop. When you come in the room, they stop.
Oh, yeah.
They're watching, and you'll see the antenna goes like this. They start feeling the energy of the room. They pick up on things.
Wow.
Look, if we were in certain ancient times, they'd probably be this big. Let's say go back towards quote unquote dinosaur time. They're probably this big. Let's be real. These are little hybrids compared to the ones that's in there.
Thank God they're small. Because if I saw one that big, I would be like, get a gun.
Exactly.
Forget the raid.
There was no raid back in those days. You got to kill it. You had to kill it. I know we're off topic. Sorry, audience. We're off topic. But I'm talking about consciousness.
Ooh, consciousness to cockroaches. There's a connection.
You're funny. Yes, KC. So
my gosh. But speaking of consciousness, would you agree, and it'd be safe to say, we're spiritual beings, sexual beings inside of a human being.
That's right. No,
and we are all, it's like energy, when we are in our soul spiritual form.
Right.
And we had a conceptual knowing, and knowing everything that we've done in the soul form from past lives and past experiences. And then we decided, okay, I want to come in.
Right.
We choose our parents. I want to experience this. And then when the stars were aligned at here, I want to be born on this day, at this year, this month, at this time.
Right.
It was all like pre-planned with this greater intelligence, divine source, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
We are creators.
Yes.
And the numbers are just the tools to help us remember.
Very good.
And guide us along our journey, our purpose, and our path.
That is absolutely right. I couldn't have said it any better, man. I could not have said it any better. You did a great job. I mean, that's why you're a master number. See, that 11 that you're born under tells me that you see what other people don't see. And that's the type of deep insight that master numbers 11 have. Like people like Taraji P. Henderson, born the same day you're born. People like a reggae artist, Elephant Man, born the same day you're born also. But in his defense, when reggae was going down, the dance hall reggae was going down the gun way, he decided to turn it around and turn it back into dancing and having fun. So he created all of these dance trends, and he's born the same day you're born.
I did not even know that.
Yeah, that's a reggae artist, a dance hall reggae artist that he's seen the trends of people getting shot and killed. And because he was able to see what others didn't see, he started creating dance music for people to dance and creating all these dance steps. If you study Elephant Man, the dance hall artist, he's born September the 11th, the same day you're born. And that is that master number of insight. And he was able to flip a lot of the dancing, a lot of the gunplay and the killing, because he's seen people was dying. A lot of dancehall artists or people were shooting and getting killed or going to jail for murder in Jamaica. And then he said, let me flip it and let's bring back the dance and the fun in the clubs again to, to throw that off,
Well, bless him, because I love reggae.
Yeah, he's a good guy. I've worked with him before. Good guy,
I
But
hear that reggae music going, and then my body starts moving. You
Yeah,
can't help it.
I used to be a reggae artist back in the day. Yes, I did that.
But then numbers are connected with music.
Exactly. That's right.
The timing, the tempo.
It's just, and remember, it's just 7 notes that creates all this type of music. Any type of music, just 7 notes. According to the musical scale, creating Beethoven's, creating Bach, creating reggae, R&B, whatever, it's just 7 notes, and just that created multiple different sounds in music. Beautiful. It's a beautiful thing.
And it connects us with our, now I understand about chakras.
Right.
Because we have chakras and each one holds a note and 7 notes.
Yes, right. Exactly.
So when you hear certain music, it also affects our chakras.
Yes.
It either can start blocking our chakras or get our chakras moving.
Right.
Well, I always listen to that good vibe kind of sound with the music because I want my chakras working.
Yes, it's important. I know they have done studies where you can be watering a plant and playing bad music and the plant dies, but you could be watering and nurturing a plant and play good music and it flourish. So yes, not only with sound and music and of course the nurturing of the plant, but it depends on what you are feeding even people, because plants are living. That's why I hug trees. Even before I climb them, I will hug them. Even before I train martial arts on them, I'll hug them and let them know this is what I'm going to do, because a great teacher in New York from Sundial Herbal Spot. He used to take people on walks, and then Sister Tyoma and Sister Yendez, they used to take people on walks, and they'll tell you to caress the plant, really talk to them before you even think about pulling them. Because just like a child, if you grab a child from a crib, they'll shake too. The plant is experiencing that same thing. So you got to be very mindful of how you deal with plants. And that was very interesting to me, because it showed me not just to be empathetic, but to be sensitive to other things when you're dealing with plants and the ground and the earth and all that. So that's, again, family, we're off topic over here on Wake Up with
No, but that's showing compassion, because we're all connected.
We're all right. We're all connected.
Just like we're connected with the numbers. Now, you mentioned about the positive and the negative, dealing with numbers.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Would it be safe to say it's not like the negative,
mm-hmm.
but it's information to help you when, I call them, challenges or opportunities,
right,
that are going to test how you deal with possible so-called challenges.
Right.
It's still a tool to help you learn, understand, grow, and evolve. Would that be a better way of saying about, some people when they say, oh, well, I like the positive, but they forget about the negative aspect, which is also a tool to help you for the possible hurdles, obstacles, or challenges.
Exactly. No, you're absolutely right, Casey, because what people don't realize, that positive and negative energy is the same energy on two different extremes. And the energy is not negative. It's a balance. It's just when we identify it in the human form, because of trials, tribulations, and circumstances around the world, we've seen what we call negative, which probably can be called a lesson for that person, something for them to learn from. Okay, let's say people have gotten molested. What did you learn from the molestation that you make sure it don't happen again, to turn it into a blessing? And what did that person go through before they molested you? Did they get molested? And is the cycle continuing?
Thank you.
So
I totally understand that. You're speaking my language. I know that experience. And
yes,
I didn't understand it. And would you agree? Like when you're young, of course you're not going to understand.
oh no, I would definitely agree because I went through it from a torturous point of view because my two girl cousins, they try to, because I was young and I ate their food, they tortured me, stripped me naked and swing me around and did all the torturous stuff. And when we actually confronted that later on in life, come to find out they went through molestation and hurt by men. So cycle continue, whether it was malicious or it was just a torturous thing to say, don't eat my food, don't touch my food again. But because I was a boy in the same family of the men that probably touched them, they treated me and had, oh, because they was teenagers, I was just 8, 9 years old. So I publicly said this already, and I've talked to them already. We still love each other, but now I understand, hurt people hurts people, but healed people can heal people. And it's time to do the healing. That's what I'm working for, the healing.
Same here, because
Yeah.
I, was sexually molested by a religious man. And then I was raped by a drunk that threatened to commit suicide.
Wow.
And I was, a teenager at that time.
Yes.
So one, it's psychologically, there's trauma.
Yes.
Energetic trauma, mental, psychological, emotional trauma. And that, if you don't understand how to cope or deal with, you go through vices to numb yourself so you don't have to deal with it. And eventually it's like a spiral downhill. And then you wind up hitting rock bottom.
That's right.
Then, our aha awakening moments.
And I mentioned that in my book. I mentioned that in the Motivation for Mental Stability and I mentioned all the different therapies to keep people balanced, whether it's dealing with crystal therapy, birthstone therapy, aromatherapy, all the different therapies I mentioned. And I know there's more, dance therapy, sex therapy, all of that is there, from tantra, all of that. And I talk about it and give recommended reading in the back of all my books. I always have recommended reading to let people know I don't know it all. And I'm not going to claim that I know it all. I study, I research, and it's always good to give a man or woman their props. Always. And I was taught that by various of my teachers. Always be willing to give somebody the prop, even if you mention them in a book that you write. There's nothing wrong with that, because sometimes we compartmentalize a lot of this trauma. And I have found from my perspective of studying numerology that there's certain numbers that attracts that trauma too. Attracts sexual trauma, attracts mental trauma, attracts different types of creativity trauma. If you lack creativity, there's certain numbers that it can attract that, because again, you have duality here. And if people are not willing to overcome or work towards overcome, like I was telling you earlier in our session, I told you about people got to be willing to put in the work if they want to overcome these various things that they've gone through, whether it's from mom or dad. When reading the book, and I told you about this book called Dodging Energy Vampires.
Yes.
She says specifically in the book that there is trauma that is passed on from family members in your ancestry. She talks about it in the book.
And you know what? I want to even touch base on this since you brought it up, because I feel it intuitively. I'm getting goosebumps and I'm getting hit.
Good.
Now, this is coming from a neuroscience energetic. I talk about emotional energetic traumas. Now, this is the fascinating part, because I love history.
Yes.
And when you ask a question, you question everything. And that's how my journey began.
Right.
So those traumas that, come from the parents, it's emotional, energetic energy. Now, think about this. The woman is the one that carries the baby.
Yes.
So then whatever she's experiencing, whatever she is feeling, that unborn child is experiencing it too, but has no idea.
That's right.
And it's that energy.
But to go a step further, one of the late great holistic teachers, Dr. Africa, said, because both men and women are part of that, whatever's in that sperm of that man is also bringing forth trauma to the child too, and from the ovum of the woman. And that's a holistic perspective, because, and I'm gonna give you an account, and I wrote about it in my book, and it's gonna be in my autobiography, When the Late Bell Rang. But I wrote about it in the Numerovation for Mental Stability. I remember thinking about taking my life 3 times in my life, and the last time that it happened, and every time, Casey, every time, Casey, and I want the audience to know, there was always some type of intervention that happened. But when I finally recognized that it was in the blood is when I called my father, and he said, yo, that's what your great grandfather did, took his life over a woman. And he did do it. He accomplished it on my father's side.
Wow.
And what's so interesting, when I went to his numbers, I never knew his birthday. My father couldn't remember his birthday, but his name, Claude, in one of the systems of numerology, added up to 22, which is a number 4, and 4 is the number of suicide or mental health. So I didn't know his birthday, but his name told me a lot. I never knew him, because I only knew him since I was a little child. I remember seeing him. I see myself in pictures when I was a little baby, young person, but because he took his life, I never got to meet him. But his name revealed so much when I found, although it was a master number, but he went towards the lower frequency of the negative of the number 4, because the positive of the 4, and I want to let the people know that these are the dualities. Although in my book, Numerovation for Mental Stability, it depicts certain numbers that can draw mental instability to you. The positive, on the other side, I give you both sides so you understand to manage your weaknesses and strengthen your strength. So my great grandfather didn't manage his weakness and then took his own life by hanging himself. And that last time that I thought about taking my own life, that's what I was going to do, hang myself. And when I talked to my father, like a week or 2 later, he told me my great grandfather did it. I can't make this.
I got goosebumps you telling me this. Oh,
it's real talk. But yeah, go ahead.
But here's the thing. I, being a history geek and looking at the eras and time periods of all the wars, depression, the epidemics of diseases and whatnot, how even going back in time, I see the cycles still repeating, and look at where we are today. And I'm like, people, wake up. It doesn't matter what religion you are. It doesn't matter what politics you're into. Wake up, because this energy is passing on. And I have grandchildren. And I'm thinking about the future generation. And I'm holding all of us responsible. We are responsible. If we don't do something now, what are we setting our future generations? We need to think about our future generations now.
Yes.
What can we do now? Heal. Wake up to the pattern, the cycles, that energy. We could destroy that negative energy.
Or put it in check. Put it in check, because remember, negativity ain't going nowhere.
That's true.
Putting it in check, because it's energy, and energy can't be created or destroyed. Remember, that's the science.
You can change the energy.
You can change the energy and redirect it to where it got to go to serve its greater purpose, because even in the light bulb, there's positive and negative that created this light. So we need the both. It's just how we use it in human form, and how we need to flip our mindset, because it's all in the mind. And like the Kabbalion always says, all is mind and universe is mental. It's the truth. All is mind and the universe is mental. So if that's the case, and I got the Kabbalion right here, I keep all these books around me, because I study a lot. It's how we apply the information. Again, like I said earlier, and it was a quote actually from a preacher that I listened to at church, because I get information from everywhere, and I take what I need to help me become better. I don't care what religion you are, I don't care what color you are, I don't care whatever. I take what I need to make me a better human being, so I can be helpful to the betterment of humanity in general. But like he said, manage your weaknesses and strengthen your strength. Manage your weaknesses and strengthen your strength. Where there's a poison in the area in nature, there's always a cure about 5 to 10 feet around. Where there's solutions, where there's a problem, the solution is right there in the mirror when you're looking at it. You know what I'm saying? If you got a problem, then you're the solution to that problem.
Yep. I
Love it.
totally get it, dude.
Loving it. I love this interview. Thank you, Casey. Thank you very much.
This is what I love talking about. And I love meeting fascinating, brilliant, beautiful souls. Because I feel like, honestly, we're having synergetic energy exchange just on a
Exactly.
soul level.
Right.
And
Exactly.
it just lights me up. And the energy and the intentions that I even do through this show, someone's getting it. Someone's being transformed. Someone is awakening. And it's a healing. I'm just putting that energy out there.
Exactly. No, that's what that's what you came here as far as one of your superpowers to do, according to your numbers, is to heal and give people insight. Because that, like I said, that 11 is the number of spiritual teachers. But because it adds up to the 2, that's also the sensitive healer also. So it's a double whammy right there, that you get all of that assertive and spiritual insight, but also with your insight you're supposed to heal and guide and teach. That's
Whoa, I'm getting woo hit. Wow. Woo. And I also I guess like a vortex or something a few years ago started happening, to where I started channeling. And it was intense. And it was in a language there's different ones. I have some recordings of some, but they change from masculine to feminine, and it's a foreign ancient language. That's as far as I've gotten to it. And I'm like, okay, there's a connection to this. I'm experiencing it now because I'll probably be doing it more later, but I'll have a better understanding of it.
Right.
But it's mind-blowing.
A teacher of mine's of ours years ago, named Dr. Delbert Blair, because these cycles go through 26,000 years, processions and all that type of stuff. He was stating that that we more than likely will experience every type of human life as the same energy, whether we're Black, white, Indian, crippled, blind, whatever we're going through. We're more likely going to experience all those different, that being male, female, all of that. So you never know what you're tapping into because of the bloodline that you have in your DNA, what you're tapping, because you can tap into all of your ancestors. And let's say you're only going back 400 years, you can tap into those ancestors too. Even 1,000 years, you can tap, because it's all still part of your bloodline. And Dr. Blair and people like Kaba Kamene used to break that down metaphysically. Bobby Hemmett, Phil Valentine, a lot of great ones. I've even heard David Icke speak on it, and different people. So again, studying and finding that common thread is some could be very extreme, some could be right there with you. But it's always examining that common thread and riding that thread to find out where you fit in, or what lane you're willing to stay in. Because I like to stay in my lane. I don't even try to, say I know it all and all that. I've studied a lot, but I stay in the numerology lane because it's been helpful to me. It's been helpful to others, because when I see people enjoy what I do, I feel that, because like Ian Levanzan always says, sometimes we teach what we need to know or learn ourselves. So sometimes it just comes and flow out of me. You know what I'm saying? And I needed to learn that lesson myself. I needed to learn the lesson.
Well, I know I'm not afraid of them.
Yes.
They it's like messages that I get downloaded, and when they come in and I channel, it's like they take over my body and they're speaking.
That's right. Let them speak.
And I let them, but then it's like, can I get a time out? Their frequencies are so higher than what my body, and I'll take it to my, till I can't take it no more. because I want them to, whatever message that they have to help, I'll sit there and take, and until the finally I'm like, can I get a timeout? It's like, you guys' freaking frequencies like really get to this human body, and I just need to be able to breathe.
Right. I understand.
So, and I know that numbers are a key role.
Yes.
Numbers are even like, we have a misconception about numbers.
Right.
Okay. Understanding, I do believe is Fibonacci,
Yes.
Tesla,
Mm-hmm.
the 333, the 369. That's a
Right.
formula. Even the 666,
Right.
which there's a misconception about the 666.
Of course.
And from my understanding, please correct me if I'm wrong, the 666 is something that's already within us and a part of our DNA.
Right.
And that is, and it's very key.
Right.
So it's not what we thought was so-called like the beast or anything. No, it's something that was already within us from the beginning of our creation.
Right. Neutrons, protons, and electrons.
And there's mathematics in that lead up to the 666.
Exactly. And it gets, like Pythagoras said, all is numbers. And like Henrik Cornelius said, numbers are at the root and the base of all things.
Yes.
Because
how many bones we have in our body, how many teeth we have in how many meridians. There's different meridians with us.
Right. There's a multitude. I mean, that's why I tell people numbers are infinite, because you could start from birth and start counting, and then die, and come back through another womb and still be counting, and numbers will still be there counting. You still be counting, regardless. You know what I'm saying? I used to count my steps years ago. I used to walk from one place to another. Sometimes it's 10,000 steps, 20,000 steps, just to learn how to walk majestically as I was younger. We used to, me and my cousin used to practice that. And it get monotonous, because you're trying to keep up with the thousands, going up to 5,000, 500, 5,001, 5,000. And it got really, because we didn't have no counters back in the 80s. We were just doing it in our head.
Right. So let me ask you something. Since you did all that walk and everything, did you avoid stepping on the crack on the sidewalk?
No, I didn't avoid that, but we was taught about those, step on the crack and break your back, all that craziness, all the superstition. You know, Stevie Wonder sung a song about superstitions. So, so that. So I after a while, after you start getting knowledge of self and knowledge of things around you and knowledge of the universe, you get over that kind of stuff. You try to break that.
I know, but it was fun at the time.
But it was funny. Walking on the ladders and all that kind of stuff. I was like, I start stepping on cracks purposely. I start walking on the ladders to show people. I let black cats come in front of me, and because a person from in Georgia said that I may be a cat whisperer, because every time I step into her house, the cats come and surround me. Every time I go into her house, and she has an Egyptian bald cat. She had all of that going on. And then one time, Casey, I was in Miami, on Miami Beach, and I was going to the beach for a moon ritual. And there was a couple coming from the beach entrance to say, brother, you don't want to go there. There's a whole bunch of cats, like 30 to 50 cats over there that's blocking the entrance. And I said, I'm all right. And when I walked and they seen me, they opened up the path and let me through. That's exactly what I said. Look, I came here to do some work. I looked at them. I said, look, I came to do some work. And they opened up the path. Meow, 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 and they started running. And they didn't go too far. They didn't run far. They just opened up the path and let me through. And they closed back up and started doing their thing again. And I went on the beach just to do my moon meditation.
Wow. I love the connection with animals too.
Oh, yeah. Even and with the numbers, the word cat in the let me see, that's 3, 4, in the Chaldean system adds up to the number 8, And 8 is an old soul energy. It's an energy of infinite knowledge and wisdom. So cats come from that energy. Once you pay attention to that, the numbers also connected to words and how they spell. That's what tells me that the lexicon producers studied numerology or gematria or Kabbalah. It lets me know that, that there is something about the words that we put from etymology and all that. They study the numbers because, remember, numerology is the only system that can transpose letters into numbers. Whether you're using gematria or Chaldean or Pythagorean or Nigerian or Chinese or Japanese, that's what they do. Abjad, all of that. So
wow.
A beautiful thing.
It is. And since you mentioned about cats, I understand this from the healing aspects.
Yes.
The vibration from the cat purring, if a cat comes onto you and just lies down, and you feel that, it's a healing process that's taking place. And cats know this.
Yeah, and their tone, because they'll just be.
Yeah.
I used to have it. My cousin used to have 4 cats that every time I come to Canada, they'll come and lay around me. Even from I was young. Now, this is when I was young. They'll just come and lay around me. My cousin, but she'd tell me, she said, "You don't remember that?" I said, "Yeah, I remember slightly because those cats died and she got new cats now. But yes, I remember them coming around me and chilling with me, Sheba and all the rest of those cats, Brooklyn and Manhattan. That's what she called the cats, Brooklyn, Manhattan, Sheba, so they used to come around me as I was sleeping on the couch. They'll come around me. And I'm a person that sleep like I'm a mummy. I'm like this. And I don't move. I'm just like that. And I keep my space. I stay in my lane.
Oh, wow. You stay in your lane.
I stay in my lane.
Even when you're sleeping.
Even when I'm sleeping. Unless I'm alone, and especially if I'm in the bed with somebody, I'll stay in my lane. I'll stay in my lane because I know, some women like to just throw their legs all over the place. I'll stay in my lane.
Oh my gosh, that's too funny. I've been wanting to know about this number 13.
Oh, great number. Wonderful number.
It's my favorite number. And everyone's like, oh, Friday the 13th. That's like a bad number. And all this misconception. There's no 13th floor on any tower building. I'm like, why? Like, that doesn't make sense. It's just a number and it's a good thing, not a bad thing.
It's multiple reasons why they did it. You also got to remember what happened in the 1300s, especially with the conquering of the Moors and the Moors doing what they did in history until 1492. So in the 1300s, Europe was going through some stuff. Spain was going through some stuff, especially trying to get the Moors out or trying to live under the Moorish paradigm at that time. So the 13 became synonymous of something negative, but it's always really in ancient history. Before that, it was a number of power and dominance, but it's also a number of creativity and self-expression and structure. But that's why I tell people with this number 13, if you don't, according to tarot or according to compound numerology, if you don't use it correctly, it can wreak havoc because it's leading you down the undisciplined road. When in the frequency of it can lead you down the undisciplined road if the person that's born under it or connected to it in any way and is not living to its highest and wisest. So for them to have buildings that skip past 13, I never understood that until I started studying the history of it, and the history of people in religious that built these buildings was more likely under either a Christian system or some type of religious system that also kept on promoting this fear of the number 13. It's a fear because if you study even the biblical science with Jesus and his disciples, Jesus was the portal for the 12 disciples. So he was the 13th one. That's why they had to come through him to be their greatest great. They had to mimic and study him to be their greatest great as the disciples. So he was that portal. 13 is that portal for man to be their greatest.
And consciousness.
And conscious, yes, because it's also mental. Yes.
So, and then something about the Templars, the
The Knights of Templar.
There was
Yeah.
13. Wasn't there not?
Say that again?
There was 13 of them.
Yes, the 13, and then they always kept a certain amount, 13 a long history, yeah, because that 13, those were the Christian rebels. Those were the ones that really came up against the Moors to get that they was very. I have books on the Templar also. And matter of fact, I used to call myself in the reggae world Simon Templar. That's what I called myself, but I didn't spell it with the AR. I spelled it with the ER to keep the temple there. Simon's Temple, but it's Simon Templar. But Templar, I understood that because I have books on the Templars and the Knights of Templar and all that kind of stuff. I've studied their history.
But wasn't there a time in history, I can't remember what year it was, but then first it was for a good cause of what they were doing, but then something changed and then it just got a little out of hand kind of thing.
Like most powerful people, that's what happens. It gets, power corrupts. It happens over the years, because if you're fighting for Catholicism and fighting for, now you're dealing with religion now. When you're dealing with the Knights of them, those were the security men. Those were the assassins. Those were the killers. Those people were trained not only to know scripture, but they was able to use different weaponry like ninjas. And the original ninjas, they mimicked that type of style and those type of workout and killing. Matter of fact, they were studying that type of battle combative methods from out of Hannibal Barca and all those great ones from those times, and those great fighters, the original Magi's or the Magi's. As a matter of fact, I have a book on that too, which was written by a martial artist named Infundishi. He talks about that. And that's a great book for people to get, called is it here? I know I have it somewhere. It's about the Magi's, but it's a study of the Magi's. I thought I had it because I'm packing up really. But yeah, wow. that history is intense. And they got
tell me about it. And I've seen documentaries and I was just like, and then I go through like the wars, the history and documentaries so I could get an understanding of what it's like, because I'm a visual person.
Yes.
So even reading the Bible and then going back in time and who is actually reigning. I actually have a book. I don't know what I did with it. It's here somewhere, where it's the history of the kings. And back then they were called lords.
Right.
That they reigned, like you could go like 95,000 years.
Right.
And then it goes into the BC times. Ambarambi, the Code of Laws, there's 283. And I'm thinking, where did he get these laws from? How do you know about taxes? How do you know about agriculture and even wages back then? And then cross-referencing. So with that, I was like, these people actually claim that God told them to murder and kill and rape and whatnot. And I'm like, that's not the God that I know. Sorry, I'm not buying into this.
Well, it's history is so deep, and the atrocities that's been done throughout history is definitely coming back and being recalled. And there's a lot of ancient people coming back to the earth, to finish off what they were supposed to finish off. A lot of us was prematurely taken out of here, and we have to come back. And if the universe is just, and if the God or creator that we believe in is just, then of course justice will be served the proper way. I remember a great metaphysics teacher named Bobby Hemmett. Bobby Hemmett said, maybe we're not supposed to do the same things we did tens of thousands of years ago, building pyramids and all that. Maybe the next journey is the spirit, the things that the Dogon spoke about. Because I've had dreams where my guides was taking me through the universe and traveling, but I know I didn't want to come back. And I've said this before, I didn't want to come back. And I knew if I would have kept on going, I would not have came back to this body. But one of my spirit guides tapped me and said, your mission is not over yet. This is before I wrote my books and all that stuff. The mission is not over yet. And I came back to my body crying. So I know there is a travel that we got to go, and I know there's guides ready to take us there, even if we don't know it verbally and we don't know it but we know it intuitively because it's a part of our DNA. It's a part of our bloodline where we're supposed to go beyond this. So whether, like you said earlier, the numerology, the astrology, the cardology, all these things are modalities to give us guidance here to help us to be at our wisest and highest level, my dear. And that's why it's so important that I tell people, when you come to my session or go to anybody's session, have an open mind. We're not here to take you away from your religion. We're here to make you better in your religion, because religion only means realigning you back, taking you back, realigning, coming back. You have to go back to where? Go back to universal order of things. It's not just God, because we are all gods having a human experience.
Thank you.
Like Professor Smalls and many others say.
Well, I go by Dr. Wayne Dreyer.
Yes, I love. Yeah, he born May the 10th. Great guy. I love.
Yes, and he goes, you have a choice, either to be the host of God or the hostage to your ego. It's your call.
Wow. Yeah, I love Wayne Dyer. I watched him a lot. I binge watched him and listened to him before I go to sleep. I even got the Tao because of him. I got the Tao, because I listened to him break down the Tao. Like I said, May 10th, former military person. You'd be surprised how a lot of these spiritual guys were former military. Mr. Rogers, former military with kills under his belt. Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly.
Well, because from ancient civilization times, the Anunnaki, they came down and set up like a military base all around but if you look back in those times, it's, like the USA wasn't where it is today. It was somewhere else on the part of the earth.
That's what I heard.
All the continents were somewhat clustered together, and then something happened.
Right.
And then it started separating. So, it's in the DNA.
That's right. That's definitely Billy Carson's part right there.
Yeah.
That's his lane. I keep in my lane.
You know what? It's fascinating. And then they talk about numbers.
Yes, of course.
So it's between, how the stars and everything. That's how the pyramids were planned, because they waited until the Orion was forming in such a way at a certain time, a certain season. So even in our, I was born on a certain year, but then from then, every year that changes, like now I'm into 2021.
Right.
So 2021 ends with a 5.
And
then the 9/11, that's 20, which is a 2. So 2 and 5 is 7. So my understanding of 7 is completion, but I know there's so much more to that.
Yeah, well, 7 is definitely in biblical terms, that was completion. Remember, because God rested on the 7th day. 7 is more of deeper spiritual insight and introspection. So in your rest, you're supposed to be meditating and reflecting what has happened within yourself. So completion is also the 9 energy. So there's complete levels, and they're just letting you know different levels to this completion stuff. But if you go into religious theology and then go into metaphysics, you'll find different forms of completion. Just like 666 adds up to 18, which is a 9, which represents completion. But when you look at that same scripture, it says it's the number of man and beast. It doesn't just say it's a number of the beast. It's a number of man and the beast. So if think about God and dog, higher level, lower level. We just got to recognize either you can be beast-like or you can be God-like. It's totally where you want to go with it.
Right. Yeah. I like how you just put that in a whole new perspective. I never would have thought of that. I was like, wait a minute, hold up a second. Yeah.
But Casey, I got to get ready to go. I do have some other. I do. Yeah, but yeah, please.
Thank you for joining. It was a pleasure. And every All your links are in the description. So
That's in the
please
description.
go check out his books.
Thank you.
Simon, thank you for serving and doing everything that you do. I love you.
I love you too. Love and respect to you too. And I thank you for your great journey, your great audience and everything. And everybody remember, wake up with KC.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Well, there you go. I hope this was helpful, and definitely check out Simon's books. They're insightful. They're tools to help you along your way in your transformation. And like I said, you'll never know who I'm going to get on this show. So stay tuned for the next episode right here with Wake Up with KC.
Do you agree that, it's time that we all wake up and take responsibility, even for our ancestors that did not know any better?
Been waiting patiently to have this kind of conversation.